Yes, I wonder if this is going to work. Shay, do you mind if you're in the shot in the background?
I don't mind at all.
Alright, cool. Welcome back, class, to Internet Witchcraft Etiquette, where I teach you proper and respectful witchcraft etiquette. I'm your host, Jakel. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about Hecate. Let's start with the proper way to pronounce Hecate. You see, class, we are on the internet, and unfortunately the internet is full of people, and there are a lot of people that would love to tell you that you are doing it wrong because they know it all. And even though I don't think I know it all, that's preposterous, but I do think I probably know more than you. Now, Hecate is a Greek goddess. Do you think that in ancient Greece they were calling her Hecate, Hecate, or anything like that? Let's break down this etymology just a little bit. Most people in contemporary witchcraft will spell her name either with a C or a K, Hecate or Hekate. Phonetically speaking, in American English, that spells Hecate or Hecate. Neither one of those are correct. Now here's the thing, yes, this is just a nice, polite, and verbose way of saying, apparently I need to spell it out for some people. So let's spell out her name proper. Now here's a perfect example to demonstrate what I mean when I say, I don't know everything, but I'm pretty sure I know more than you. Because I don't know the name of any of these letters, but I know what they're supposed to sound like. Let's start with this E-looking letter. This is where you have the eh sound, but because of this accent up here that I don't know what it's called, it is supposed to signify a soft exhalation, which is how we get the H in Hecate. Did you catch that? Her name isn't even spelt with an H properly. And now let's start with this next sound. This is literally just ka. That's it, K-A, ka. We have the accent here that gives us the understanding that it's a ka and not a K or a caw. It's ka. This one obviously looks like a T. It's easy to assume that whatever this letter is called, it's going to give us our T sound. This, surprisingly, is an E sound, but it isn't covered the same way that this is. It gives us that sharp E sound, the E. So this is T. So now when we throw it all together, we've got E-Ga-D. E-Ga-D. And because I am talking about proper pronunciation, I am talking about the way to pronounce it. I am deliberately emphasizing a Greek or generalized Mediterranean accent. That way I can get it down correctly. If I was saying this with an American accent, the way that it's spelled out here, it'd be Hecate. That's not quite right. So if I'm trying to do it with an accent that is what I, as an ignorant American, might think a Greek accent sounds like, we get Hecate. I've said it that way on the internet 100,000 times. Do you know how many people have applauded me for my accurate accent? I'm winging it and got it right. Now here's the thing, class. Hecate is one of the most prolific goddesses to ever exist. Name me a goddess that is as widespread and as prolific in current Western occultism and magic today. I'll wait. You're wrong. It's Hecate. And now because Hecate has been so far spread, so popular, so famous for so long, her name has been introduced to multiple different regions, multiple different cultures, and multiple different dialects, multiple different accents, multiple different languages have found a way to pronounce the name Hecate. And within that context, it doesn't matter what way you're saying her name, just so long as she knows who you're talking about. All of this just to get to the point. Quit telling people they're wrong about the way to say Hecate. Fuck's sake. Roll footage. I'm reporting to you from an undisclosed location somewhere on my property, and I'm presenting the question that I've been asking myself for a very long time. Hecate. Where did she come from, and where did she go? Where did she come from, and is her name Cotton Eye Joe? I have spent many years researching the occult and the paranormal, and it doesn't matter where I wind up. My research always brings me to one name, Hecate. One night in 2007, I was about 15 years old. I was at a party with some friends. We were celebrating the end of the summer festivities, as it had been, collectively, the best summer for myself and my entire friends group, the entire 3 years that we had been friends. Along the way, we had picked up some new friends, and it was one of those new friends that introduced me to the idea that the paranormal was real. Even as a child, I had been obsessed with Bigfoot, UFO, Loch Ness Monster. But I realized for myself at one point, I wasn't going to find any of them in my backyard in a Midwest trailer park, but what I could stumble onto was ghosts. I still wonder if it was madness or some kind of autistic special interest with all of the gusto of ADHD hyperfixation. But even at the ripe young age of 12, I was sitting there at my family PC, researching Ouija boards, pendulum, tarot cards. I was obsessed. I wanted to find a way to communicate with the dead. I wanted to find a way to interact with the paranormal. I wanted to find a way that when things in the night bumped, I could bump back. I figured at some point that my best scientific approach would be handled through a paranormal investigation as well as generalized ghost hunting. This all started when I was probably still around 12, maybe 11. I had seen the movie White Noise, and although that is rife with all of the Hollywood glitz and glam, I still was introduced to the idea of electronic voice phenomenon. Back in those days, a year felt like an eternity. So in only 3 short years, it felt like a lifetime had passed since I had first started investigating the paranormal from the comfort of my own home PC monitor. Summer 2007, I'm sitting there at a bonfire, a party thrown by a couple of friends. And these new friends had been invited, and that evening I met another person, somebody I'd never seen before. And it was this friend who I kind of was a thing with, but I digress. This new friend and my not girlfriend were sitting there by themselves, just the two of them, separate from the rest of the crowd. And as a nosy individual, I decided to poke my head into the situation and ask, "Hey, is everything okay? Do you need help? Is something going on?" Muddled just underneath their breath, they were talking with one another. And then my not girlfriend looked over to the new friend and said, "I trust him. We can tell him." And that was when the new friend looked to me and said, "The supernatural is real, and we think there's a hellhound over there." As the adage goes, I was young, dumb, and full of cum. So I perked up with delight because I thought I was going to have my very first genuine paranormal experience. Lo, to my wondering eyes, I would. I started probing questions, started asking, how can you tell? What is your evidence? Why are you thinking that this might be the case, dear new friend and not girlfriend? That was when the new friend pointed to the bushes and said, "Look over there. Don't look with your eyes. Unfocus your eyes and look at what you see when you're not concentrating on the physical elements." And that's exactly what I did. Surprised as I may have been, I still sat there and I realized that the light should have been shining on that particular area, yet there seemed to be a void where there should be light. There was not as if the light was turned down, but the darkness turned up. I got chills down my spine. The hair stood on the nape of my neck. And it was then that before I could even process what I was witnessing, a large, shadowy dog darted out almost faster than I could see, across the chain link fence and out of sight. And that's a good 50 yards that thing just ran across that backyard. Sure as shit, there it was. I saw it with my own two eyeballs. I had had my very first paranormal experience, and it was a hellhound. Years would pass, the days would come and go, and I would always revisit these topics, always wondered, if this hellhound was there, who was it serving? Who sent it our way? Was it spying on us? Did we just happen upon it? Surely enough, this hellhound had to be of the decree of some higher being. I realize now that I am an older, wiser, more experienced magician and occultist. That's not always the case. But I still had to ask, and almost every time it came back to me, Hecate. I have spent the last 7 years dedicated, hyperfixated on, entranced by the research of the goddess of witchcraft, the goddess of sorcery, magic, the preeminent embodiment of liminality. And I still have to ask the question, where did she come from? Where did she go? Does she know the true identity of Cotton Eye Joe? Okay, wow, this is not where I expected that video to go. Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Jakel, and today we are obviously trying something different. In the video before this one, I'm talking about the question, but what if I do witchy, pagan, and occult topics over on this platform? But I also stressed that I wanted to do it my way. I didn't want to fit a formula the way that other people had done it before, because what's the point in that when I can do it my way? Also, what's the point in doing it the same way here that I do it over on TikTok? And I think what's happening, whether I want it to or not, is that this is an exercise in seeing what can I actually do here now that I am going to try and take on some of these topics. Last night I was talking with my partner Shay, and I realized that whether I intended it or not, I kind of do have my own style that I do here. I have taken inspiration from a lot of different people. I have tried out a lot of different things. And whether I have realized it or not, I guess it is safe to say that there are people that are bound to actually like my content. In my own practice, I've been reconnecting with Lady Hecate. At this point, she's pretty much taken over my altar entirely. And since I've been reconnecting with her, it would appear, much to my genuine surprise, that I have parted ways with Queen Persephone. I don't want to talk about it here. I kind of talked about it already, but I got a lot of feelings to try and go through and sort out and figure out. But one of the ways that I've been coping with that is going back over my notes and going back over my books. I've got this one here because it's mostly a spell book with some prayers and hymns in it, but I want to transfer everything that I want to keep out of here into another book. And then I want to take everything related to Hecate out of this book and put it into another one. So I've already started that by putting it all into this book. This looks like a good, nice, cute, tried and true Book of Shadows or Grimoire or something. And the neat thing about this is it's sort of it's already done in such a way where it kind of looks like chapters as it is. So this first chunk is Hecate, and this second chunk is my spells. And in the process of going over some of the stuff that I have not looked at in a long time, I've realized a few things about Hecate that I don't think others might put two and two together. But before I get on with that, I would like to make note that that is exactly why Hecate is the main subject matter of this particular video, because I've got a lot of research into Hecate, and therefore I've got a lot of things that can be jumping points for content in regards to Hecate. But before I get carried away with myself, I want to hand it over and give a big, huge thank you to our partners, our sponsors, Raid Shadow Legends. Okay, that's not actually our sponsor, but take it away, whoever's going to take the next clip. Once again, today's sponsor, Jesus Christ. Once again, today's sponsor is you. Thanks to those who support the channel by considering, what the fuck? Alright, maybe with this. Alright. Thanks to those of you who, God, go out! Thanks to those of you who are able to support the channel by considering the thingy, we are able to make this the main thing that we do. Thanks to you, not only are we able to get by, we are able to fund some of the content that we do here. We are able to... Thanks to you, we are able to continue making some of the cool content that we make. Thanks to you, we are able to continue funding our research into witchcraft, occultism, paganism, as well as paranormal investigation. Now, I'm going to give one last big huge thank you. Thank you. Now let's get back on with the program. Welcome back, initiates and acolytes. My name is Ebon Bathory, Sorcerer Supreme and Black Magician Extraordinaire, and today we are going to invoke the great goddess, Hecate. For a long time now, doesn't matter how long, don't ask. I'm not telling you anyway, but for a long time, I have been studying the proper ritual rites of Lady Hecate, great goddess of liminality, as well as the mother of all witches, goddess of sorcery, and all magic. I've done a lot of studying, so you don't have to. Just take my word for it that this recreation in a very modern contemporary setting will help you to invoke Lady Hecate good and proper. First things first, my last deity candle for her great goddessness has just gone out. I like to get these novena candles because they're only $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. They're cheap, affordable, and incredibly versatile for almost any kind of magic necessary for a candle that you might need to utilize. So we're gonna go ahead and chuck this in the fucking bucket. The fucking bucket is what I call my garbage. Off screen, just before filming, I already prepared, or started to prepare, another deity candle for Hecate. Along the sides, I have inscripted several of Hecate's epithets, as well as her name in English and in Greek, and several other different epithets. Epithets are not epitaphs. Epithets, not epitaphs, are honorific names utilized in order to invoke a different aspect of the gods or goddesses in question. So I take the time to go through my list of Hecatean epithets, again, not epitaphs, to inscribe on the sides of the candle. Now I am going to take Hecate's candle and hold it in my hands in a prayer-like position, and I am going to recite her Orphic hymn that I have committed to memory so far. Hecate, Honoria, I call unto thee, Triodites, Crossroads Queen, lovely dame of earthly, watery, and celestial frame, sepulchral in a saffron veil arrayed, pleased with dark ghosts that wander through the shade, Perseus, solitary goddess, hail! Kardokos, Catodian key-bearer, never doomed to fail, in stags rejoicing, huntress nightly seen, drawn by bulls, unconquerable queen, leader, nymph, nurse, on mountains wandering, hear the suppliants with holy rites thy power revere, and to the herdsman with a favoring mind draw near. In doing this in this way, I am holding the candle, praying her Orphic hymn to the great goddess herself. That way a connection is made between myself and the goddess herself. Now, we are going to light the candle. I like to utilize matches because it gives a very old school rustic feeling and it helps me to get into the zone, my black magic zone. However, if you want to be a loser and utilize something else, I suppose that's fine as well. And now I'm going to place her candle in exactly the place that the last one was. 'Cause that's where I've appointed for her candles to go on my altar, dedicated to Hecate. Next things next, we need to talk about incense offerings. These are our stand-ins for burnt offerings. If you want to burn herbs, this is also equally acceptable. But amongst the flavors that I have here are frankincense, myrrh, mugwort, lavender. I've also understood it within my own unverified personal gnosis that the great goddess Hecate also enjoys dragon's blood. In this particular instance, I am going to select the frankincense. Frankincense winds up being an excellent go-to offering for any of the Greek gods, the Hellenic gods, the Dei. I'm probably not saying that correctly. Theoi, that sounds right. Frankincense acts as an excellent cleansing smoke. For whatever reason, it appears to me that the Hellenic deities, not the Hellenistic, they're not exactly the same. Hellenic means Greek. Hellenistic means Greek that had been colonized by the Roman Empire. Thanks, Alexander the Great. Not sure what they want to say he was great in, but colonization was definitely part of that. The Greek gods, generally, according to ancient Greek religion, it appears that they really enjoy a cleansed ritual and worship space. They were obsessed with ritual cleansing. Frankincense helps to ritually cleanse the spiritual sacred space. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk liquid libation offerings. It appears to me that the great goddess herself really enjoys wine, and in my own direct first-hand experience with her, she tends to enjoy blackberry, or something with the more finer, fruity notes, as opposed to some of the more dry, grapey, tannin-riddled flavors. In this particular point within the ritual, I have a clean, cleansed chalice. That's what that is. This is a chalice, not a goblet, right?
Yeah.
We have a clean, cleansed chalice for Hecate. And for myself, I have this is the goblet, right? Mm-hmm. For myself, we have a glass, cleansed goblet. First, we pour one for the goddess. It is incredibly important that when you are sitting down in divine ritual with a divine Greek being, that you offer them theirs first. This is a part of the custom understood in today's English tongue as hospitality. They are a guest in your home, and you serve your guests first. And then, and only then, do you serve yourself. And then we pour one out for our dead homies. That's what's up, homies. Miss you, fam.
Dismissed for insubordination. Right ahead.
Shut up, I'm not crying, you're crying. I really fucking miss my dead homies. And then for my own sake, because I am a black magician, I am going to call upon the infernal invocation of Hecate. Infernal and earthly, heavenly Bombo, come, goddess of the waysides, and of crossroads, light bearer, night walker, hater of the light, lover and companion of the night, she who rejoices in the baying of hounds and in purple blood, who does stalk amongst corpses and in tombs of the dead, thirsty for blood, she who bringeth fear to mortals, Gorgo and Momo and Mene and many-formed one, come thou propitious to our libations. And now, and now, the goddess is with me. I hope this serves you well, initiates and acolytes, and if you just follow these easy steps, one day you too can become an incredibly evil black magician just like myself.
Usage does vary, so we need to be aware of that. So at this point, we're probably already going to die.
Time has passed since the end of that last segment. I'm not sure where to go from here. This has really just been a wild ride of seeing how many characters I can cram into one video.
So there's Chica.
Apparently the answer is at least 4.
The black and white bars are color.
And at the time of my filming this, it is Monday, November 27th, and it's the night of the full moon. So I'm going to get to a couple more points, and it's somewhere in these events I might start prepping some magical nonsense. I am a witch after all.
What is on? You're going? You're going.
Earlier in the video I was talking about how I was transferring some things over from the other books into this one.
Nope. Stop.
And sometimes, when there are things that you haven't looked at in a while, then you go back over them, things start to stand out.
You would.
Some people have asked me how it is I conduct research, and the answer is, I don't fucking know. I just go for it. I just eat up, gobble up, consume as much information as I... Pat, are you louder than me right now? But in the course of my research, I have started to have a picture painted for me, especially when it comes to the Hellenic gods. Their worship and traditions are very regional. You see, we tend to have this idea that all of ancient Greece was one way. But they were actually regional city-states brought together under the banner of the same pantheon and the same general Hellenic flag, if you will. The way that they did it in Thrace is not necessarily the same way that they did it in Thessaly, and it is definitely not the way that they did it in Athens. Only Athens did it the way that Athens did. And since a lot of the main sources are Athenian sources, that really winds up being the lens through which all of ancient Greek religion gets painted. And honestly, it is in researching Hecate that this understanding really started to unfold, because in pretty much every single part of ancient Greece, Hecate was there. And the way Hecate was worshipped in Thrace, Thessaly, Athens, etc., was completely and wildly different. She's still the goddess of liminality, she's still the goddess of magic and witchcraft and sorcery and all this other cool shit. But in some areas, herbs were more emphasized. Transition and metamorphosis were more emphasized. Sorcery and necromancy were more emphasized. It really depends on where you're looking at. Take, for example, Hecate's Orphic Hymn. Now, pretty much every single Greek god has an Orphic hymn, but at the same time, the Orphic hymns are representative of the way that they were understood in the Orphic tradition, and if I'm remembering correctly, that was at least a part of or adjacent to the Eleusinian mystery schools. So let's go back over parts of that real quick. Hecate, Anoria. How's the original hymn go? Hecate, Anoria, Trioditis, I call unto thee, lovely dame of earthly, watery, and celestial frame. This connotes, as it is even said in Hesiod's Theogony, that she's got dominion over portions of the heavens, the earth, and the sea. Sepulchral in a saffron veil arrayed. Sepulchral means ghastly. It means ghostly, spooky, spectral. It has something to do with the dead in whatever context you're talking about. In a saffron veil array, saffron is so sacred to Hecate that it's referenced in her Orphic hymn. Pleased with dark ghosts that wander through the shade, Perseus, solitary goddess, hail. Perseus is in reference to her father, Perses. However, there are some people that have also said that this might be in reference that she has Persian origins. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that, but we'll get to that. In many instances, this next part is going to be translated as the Earth's key-bearer, never doomed to fail. But in more accurate translations, it is Kleidokos, which means the key-bearer, one of the main reasons that she is associated with keys. The key holder is in reference to her holding the keys to the underworld. She holds keys to everything of the dead. But because of this unique position and ability, she's able to traverse the entire cosmos. Not only is it part of her own honors, having dominion in the Oronic, Oceanic, and Chthonic realms. With that key, she can go basically anywhere. I have also translated it as the Cosmos Keybearer, but I think we need to really point out that the Kleidokos epithet, the Chthonian Keybearer, is what is actually being referred to in this instance. In Stag's rejoicing, huntress nightly seen, drawn by bulls, unconquerable queen. Now, this really comes from a lot of her associations in Thrace and Thessaly, where she's seeing either next to Artemis or predating Artemis, frolicking in the nighttime meadows and in the forests, hunting and taking care of the wildlife, and the stags, the deer, all wind up fawning over Hecate for whatever reason. And in her downtime, for whatever reason, she appears to wrestle bulls. This is very keynote of Thrace and Thessaly. Leader, nymph, nurse, on mountains wandering, hear the suppliants who with holy rites they power revere, and to the herdsmen with a favoring mind draw near. Now, even though this is a part of the Orphic tradition, it still has a good, well-rounded understanding that we are calling on the same goddess. Whether we're calling on her from over here, it doesn't matter. We are calling on the same Hecate that is being referenced. Thrace, Thessaly, Athens. I keep saying these same three. I guess that's what's sticking out in my mind for whatever reason. Now, I want to move on to what's said about her in Hesiod's Theogony, which, for better or worse, is what is referred to as the current contemporary canon as the origin story of the Greek pantheon, because it talks about the Titans, the formation of the heavens and the earth, and it also talks about the Titanomachy, which is when Zeus is able to get away from being consumed by Kronos, and is able to overthrow Kronos and the rest of the Titans with the help of a few other Titans, the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopses. In the beginning of this entry, it starts off talking about how Asteria and Perses are Hecate's parents. But it starts to talk about how much Zeus, son of Kronos, honored Hecate above all. Direct quote, "He gave her splendid gifts, such as a share of the earth and the unfruitful sea. She received honor also in the starry heavens and is honored exceedingly amongst the deathless gods." Now I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Quoting again, "For as many were born of the Titans, Gaia and Ouranos, amongst all of these is her due portion. Zeus, son of Kronos, did her no wrong, nor took anything away that was already hers amongst the Titans, the former gods. But she holds, as the division was at first in the beginning, privileges both in earth, sea, and heaven." Then at the end here, it talks about something that Zeus did specific. Quoting again, "And then Zeus, son of Kronos, granted Hecate Korotropos," translation, midwife or nurse of the young, or both, "who after that day saw with their own eyes the light of Eos the dawn. So from the beginning she is Korotropos, and these are her honors." For whatever reason, it appears that Hesiod is really elevating Hecate into this incredibly high status. And it really seems to me, and a lot of other people that have studied, that Hecate is the only one that has this unique distinction. And it also seems that Hesiod might be the only one that emphasizes this unique distinction. I ought to just give a quick front-facing view of the book that I am going to reference. The light's not working. Hecate, Liminal Rites. A study of the rituals, magic, and symbols of the torch-bearing triple goddess of the Crossroads by Sorita de Esta and David Rankine. Now, I would recommend this book to anybody who is wanting to get familiar with Hecate. However, I would not call it 100% immediately in line with the popular canon of what is normally understood to be ancient Greek religion in most contemporary Reconstruction circles. What it does do, however, is it goes over a lot of important, let's call it, anthropological study on Hecate. And the reason I bring this up is it really starts to point out that Hecate may not be Greek in origin. There's also a caveat with that. A lot of people will wind up suggesting that Hecate is actually Anatolian origin, which is in modern-day Turkey, just east of Greece. This book also tries to point out a suggestion that it is possible that she is even older and comes from an earlier time than that, trying to point out some parallels between some Persian and even Sumerian iconography and the ways that Hecate had been regarded in her earliest forms of worship. But again, I want to point out Anatolian. Anatolia at one point was a part of Greece. The passage of time has come and gone since then. I don't want to erase Anatolian history or culture, but it has fallen under the flag of many different empires and nations, including but not limited to Hellas, the Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire, just to name a couple. Now here's the kicker. Hesiod is Anatolian. And I think that might be why Hesiod's theogony really places Hecate at such a high prestige, because he himself is Anatolian. He himself may have been raised in a family of Hecate worshippers or devotees. What I do know is, although the landscape and the culture has fluctuated in Anatolia, at the time that Hesiod was writing the theogony, I'm pretty sure that Anatolia was a part of Greece. It was one of the Hellenic city-states. Which also points out to me that there is a possibility that Hesiod is writing about a version of Hecate that predates any understanding that we currently have or is held in a contemporary setting. Let's go back to another point in the entry that I have put in here. Let me find it real quick. For whom she wills it, Hecate aids and advances. She sits by worshipful kings in judgment, and in the assembly to whom she wills, it is distinguished among the people. Then when men arm themselves, here's the important part, then when men arm themselves for the battle that destroys other men, the goddess is at hand, ready to give aid, grant victory, and bestow glory to those she sees fit. We don't really currently have a whole bunch of associations with Hecate and warfare of any kind, having anything to do with war. There might be a few cursory glances and references to her involvement into something here, there, or the other. But this is basically what is upheld as one of the main canon pieces in contemporary Reconstruction. This is putting Hecate right in the middle of having something to do with the turn of events and the way things play out in battle and warfare, which is incredibly impressive because in the Iliad by Homer, which is also elevated as being one of the main canon pieces of Greek mythology, we have a picture painted of the Trojan War, and in the events that take place, it appears that Zeus is the only one that has the ability to determine the outcome of the war. I started to understand this when researching Lord Ares, who is the god of war, who has a prominent place in the Iliad, as it is mostly about the Trojan War. With that being said, there seems to be this power struggle, if you will, where Ares, being the god of war, is doing things as the god of war. But Zeus, being Zeus, the god of, well, commander of fate, king of the cosmos, he wants things to go a certain way. And when Ares' actions defies what Zeus wanted to play out, he turns around and looks at Ares and says, "You are my least favorite son." So, with that being said, even Ares, the god of war, doesn't really have a say without consequence as to the way a war is going to turn out. In reference to the Iliad, the way that that story plays out, it appears that Ares is the god of battle, the god of carnage, the god of bloodshed and bloodthirst. But he doesn't get to ultimately determine the outcome of the war. That is ultimately left up to the whims of Zeus. Now here we have this entry about Hecate in Hesiod's Theogony, which has the Titanomachy, or Titanomachy, however you wish to phrase it, where it is talking about the genesis of the gods, the Titans, the Olympians. This is still in here, where it is saying, "Then when men arm themselves for the battles that destroys other men, the goddess is at hand, ready to give aid, grant victory, and bestow glory to those she sees fit." Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I have some bit of context that's not really jumping out at me. But it really seems that according to the Theogony, that Hecate has power in a very similar manner that Zeus has, which makes me wonder, where did she come from? Where did she go? And does she know the true identity of Cotton Eye Joe? And honestly, I think this is the point in the video in which I'm going to wrap it up and tie it off, because I was considering doing some Magick and filming bits and pieces of it, but I feel like that's good enough for another video at another time. And that being said, if I'm not going to film it, I've got Magick to get to tonight. And also, I'm pretty sure that this video has gone on long enough. It's probably going to be a little bit longer than my average because I had Internet Witchcraft Etiquette, Detective Taylor, back to me, then to Ebon Bathory, and now me again. This part alone probably could have been its own video, not gonna lie. So this is probably gonna be a longer one. I don't think it needs to be longer than it already is, now that I'm thinking about it. So, if you're still here with me, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it. I am glad to have gotten to share this with you and talk a little bit about ancient Greek religion using Hecate as the jumping point. And also all the other stuff that I did. This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun for no goddamn good reason. I got to do a little bit of everything that I love to do. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate the hell out of you. And if you're still here, thank you for listening. And until next time, take care and much love.